MADiSON review. This video games review. You can like and subscribe this channel, update gaming news, leaks, gallery content, so subscribe this channel. MADiSON wields subtle and overt horror to weave a daunting yet predictable story of abuse and torture. MADiSON, the debut name from developer MADiSON Games, is a first-character puzzle horror sport wherein gamers manage Luca, a teenage boy with a penchant for images and mutilation. In MADiSON, players solve diverse puzzles to discover clues, approximately a mysterious serial killer, a demon owning a children's e-book, and Luca's lifeless family. Along the manner, they watch Luca get tormented mentally and bodily by malicious entities who both need to inhabit the residing realm using his body or kill Luca. Veteran gamers familiar with not unusual horror tropes can also initially view MADiSON as an Outlast or PT clone. While the sport does appear to take proposal from the one's games, it additionally distinguishes itself with its Polaroid Digicam mechanic. MADiSON requires gamers to snap pics of various objects to development via the puzzles, and the Digicam also can be used to mild up darkish areas and fend off demons. MADiSON uses this mechanic well to create subtle horror. In one segment, Luca walks down a hallway to his grandparents' living room after surviving a terrifying come-upon. A statue formerly located at the cease of this hallway is all of a sudden shrouded in darkness and red lights, and it looks off. By snapping a photograph and waving it approximately to clear it, gamers see that the photograph is bloodied and burned, the telltale signal of the sport's predominant antagonist. Without even showing a photograph on the image, MADiSON fills the participant with dread and reality by using implying threat is in advance. MADiSON Games creates a tension that is palpable from beginning to cease, usually due to the exceptional sound layout. Creaking wooden, slamming doorways, and unnerving voices maintain the player on part. Picture frames clatter to the floor all of a sudden, and shadows pass in Luca's peripheral, imaginative and prescient. Even though a few cues get repetitive, they never fail to unsettle the participant. There's no time to loosen up, and the sound layout reinforces that. Capping the remarkable sound layout is the outstanding voice performing, specifically from Luca's voice actor, Jacob Judge. Luca's fear and ache are obvious based on the way he talks and groans his way through the events of the story. Although many lines are read in similar tone, it is however fresh to hear a horror protagonist communicate like they're absolutely in mortal hazard. The other voice actors, even though carefully used, are simply as fascinating of their transport. MADiSON additionally carries overt horror in the shape of bounce scares. Some of them are absolutely unpredictable and precipitated actual terror when they befell. Newer gamers can be stuck off defend by them, but longtime horror players will likely see them coming. Unfortunately, the sport is based on them heavily, and by way of the give up, they feel cheap and frustrating as opposed to horrifying. Their increasing frequency as the sport progresses will become greater of a nuisance than a scare. They're especially elaborate at some stage in the final puzzle, which sends player lower back to the start if they're leap scared. MADiSON's puzzles are pretty challenging, which might also sense worthwhile for players searching for a high trouble horror game. The answers aren't continually obvious and require some deduction abilities to parent out. There's a huge type of puzzles, although many still fall into the adventure game locate an object and use it trope, and scares are littered at some point of them. Best of all is that players revisit locations visible at the beginning of the sport, often adding a lot of intensity to the environment. The best downside of this higher assignment stage is that the route forward is occasionally uncertain, so players may additionally need a guide to recognize what the subsequent step is, especially if they're playing on the toughest trouble. Even on the perfect problem, gamers may get stumped about their next steps. Luca sometimes offers guidelines via communicate and drawings in his notebook, but they may be extremely vague and do not constantly point out the way forward. The game features superb textures and extremely good visible and degree layout, which isn't common with most indie horror games. A lot of care positioned into designing every location Luca visits, from his grandparents' domestic to a sprawling cathedral from the 1980s. Particularly, the attention to detail within the dilapidation of the residence is first-rate. Although most locations aren't visually stunning, they flawlessly capture the haunting environment the game strives for. I will share news, guide, review, gallery content, so subscribe to my channel and follow to Instagram and more reviews for Visti website gamersplits.com.